Just because we're chronically sick doesn't exempt us from other additional illnesses. I'm Annette Leonard of AnnetteLeonard.com, and I'm back again with another episode of Chronic Wellness. My dears, I was conspicuously absent last week, and I apologize for missing a week's episode. I went to Seattle at the tail end 2 weeks ago for my sort of quarterly to every 6 month grand doctor's appointments up there. And I refer to it that way, of course, because these are the specialists that I see. And I keep expecting those doctor's appointments to get further and further apart. But I've not yet been cleared for that, which is an indicator, right, of our illnesses as far as when these specialists allow us to go further and further between appointments. So I look forward to the day when those appointments get further apart. And while I was up there, I contracted a righteous virus. And it's interesting riding with illness all the time as your companion and then getting an additional illness on top of it. Of course, we are not exempt. As a matter of fact, those of us with suppressed immune systems are more prone to getting additional illnesses, but it had been a while before I'd had such a doozy. As a matter of fact, it was, I've had COVID and I've had pneumonia and several sinus infections, but this one was akin to the flu. And man, when that temperature skyrockets and is up near 104 degrees and the body pains are just so pronounced, and for me that sends my migraine rocketing, and I'm not really capable of even getting out of bed for anything except just a bathroom break for days on end. It's so debilitating, and the fever at that pitch, I've only one other time ever had what I consider to be true fever dreams, and that sense of like, I could just go right now, Lord. You could take me, and I'm not sure I would care or maybe even notice. and the strange sort of emotional waves that I ride with that. My first inclination that I was getting sick was actually the morning of my doctor's appointments, and kind of without fail, when I start to feel worse, I first go in on myself. And it's a bad habit, and it's one that is worth taking a look at, but it's that sense of, uh-oh, what did I miss? What did I eat wrong? Did I not take my meds on time? Did I not get enough sleep? Did I have a cocktail? Just like the litany of self-evaluation that begins rather than just assuming, gosh, Annette, you've got a bug. This isn't your fault. It's something that I can still work to make changes on in terms of my habits of self-criticism being the first thing I go to when I start feeling worse. When you're feeling bad, why not pile on? It's a lousy habit that is long-standing and can still use some adjusting, obviously. And I think it's hard for the people in our lives too to understand how those of us with a baseline of feeling poorly every day, then what's it like when we get an additional illness? And for those of us who we are medically suppressing our immune system to then be trying to fight an illness with an immune system that is being chemically suppressed, it's a tricky thing, and how that then prolongs the life of anything we contract, because our bodies cannot mount the kind of typical immunoresponse or send out autoantibodies or start surrounding, encapsulating, and fighting things in the way that a healthy body would. So here I am, just a little more than 2 weeks after I got sick, still not feeling my usual self, my baseline, and having an appreciation, though, for what it is to be able to get out of bed to eat a meal, get out of bed to speak to you, have a bit more life in my days, and just even how grateful I am for the few hours that I do typically have, and that most days I can text with a friend, or that there is an opportunity for conversation here and there, and that hasn't always been true in my illness, isn't always true in my illnesses, and that it leads me to not want to take those things for granted, and how my psyche can get really enmeshed with those illnesses, and that fear of, what if this is my new normal? And the fact that my constellation of illnesses began with the onset of an illness, that I got mono and then I got very sick. And so that fear that kind of is at the heart of things for me about, what if this is the new normal? And still just trying to remain really present with myself and kind of caretake that fear and not let it be all consuming, but be present with myself at those moments and learn from each of these opportunities how to not turn on myself and to be with myself in the midst of the fears that arise. These chronic lives, there's no shortage of opportunities to continue to grow, continue to stretch, continue to learn, and gain wisdom, even if it's not in the very outward-facing ways that I perhaps imagined might be true of my life at this point. So those are the thoughts from the very cloistered, small life, illness-focused perspective I've had over the last couple of weeks. How about you? Have you remained healthy during this flu and cold and COVID season? Are you also riding with uncomfortable companions of illness upon illness? Or have you stayed pretty healthy? If you have, how have you done it? If you haven't, what thoughts or fears or realizations have come to the surface for you? Also, I want to tell you that this Thursday, February 8th, at noon Pacific Standard Time, I'll be doing another Instagram Live. This time I'll be hosting Alexis Hawes of the Instagram account Why I Eat Plants. And we'll be talking about how her fast-paced life with eating anything she wants and drinking anything she could, and living in the New York fashion world led her to collapse and inflammation, and how she made radical change, and what she's doing now, and how a nutrition focused, slower paced life has really brought transformation at the center of everything for her. So if you're on IG, tune in if you can. And if not, I'll see you back here. And I thank you for joining me for another episode of Chronic Wellness. Until we're together again, be kind to yourself and be well.